Happy spooky month, everyone. As you know, I've been doing a lot more Disney stuff on this channel, and I thought we would go down a rabbit hole today in today's video because I genuinely think that this is really interesting, just looking at the origin stories of Disney movies, princesses, characters, and stories that we love, that are our childhoods. And when you actually look at them, they're a lot gorier and sadder than what they are portrayed as in the Disney films. So today I thought we would take a little adventure and see what Disney films are versus what they used to be, looking at the old stories like the Brothers Grimm stories and whatnot of what our beloved fairy tales are now in the month of October for the Spookenings. I'm gonna have a couple of like movie stuff and like spooky videos here every once in a while, so like be prepared. I hope you like it. This is my favorite holiday. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with our first princess, Mulan. So first and foremost, let's talk about the story that we know of Disney, Mulan. So Mulan's father needs to go and fight in the war. They're being invaded by the Huns, and so he is too weak and injured from his previous service to fight. So Mulan takes up his identity. She becomes a man to go fight in the war undercover. And while undercover as a man in this war, she does a lot of great deeds, but eventually they find out that she's a woman and she's sent away in shame. But she finds out details that they need to know. The army needs to know these details, so she races back and in the end is the one who saves China with her bravery. So in the story, she and Shang get together. Shang is the general and Mulan becomes the savior of China, even awarded a medal for her service. And so Mulan returns home now with Shang, and her family are very honored by her service, and even the emperor himself says, "Thank you. You did a great service not just to China but to me as well." And Mulan goes down in Disney hero princess history. But that is not the original story of Mulan. The original story of Mulan takes place in 1965, where it was called The Ballad of Mulan. So in this ballad, kind of similar, Mulan sneaks off to go to war dressed as a man, just kind of protect her family. When she gets there, she is not revealed actually as a woman yet. Actually, as a man, meets the king's daughter, and they become, what the story says, inseparable. Take that as you will. And so they actually are almost put to death, but they are spared after the king's death. So Mulan then decides to return home, and when she does, she discovers that her father has perished and her mother has now remarried. That being the conclusion, they find out that Mulan is a woman, and so instead of honoring her like the Disney movie does for her heroic deeds, instead they want to force her to become a concubine. And instead of doing that, she decides to off herself. So that is the story of Mulan. Obviously much darker than what we know of our Disney hero, Mulan. Next, let's talk about our favorite Queen of Ice, Elsa. In Frozen, the story is that Elsa has this magical, mystical ice power that she's granted, and she's honestly kind of pushed away from everyone. She self-isolates herself. Everyone is worried about her. Her sister Anna is worried about her. She doesn't understand because Elsa won't open up to her, because Elsa herself doesn't understand what is going on with her. Until one day, Elsa snaps. And when she snaps, she causes some ice problems and she flees. And, you know, the whole beautiful castle of ice, finding myself kind of scene happens. And the whole story of Anna and Elsa is just honestly miscommunication because of Elsa's magic and Anna being kept away from honestly her sister's ice magic secret. That causes a lot of miscommunication between the sisters, and the whole story is about them overcoming this, and Anna and Elsa both realizing that no matter what, they're always going to be family, they're always going to cherish each other. And that's the story of Frozen. It's a very beautiful story of just two sisters learning to open up to each other. Not in the original. In the original, there was not even an Anna or an Elsa. They are completely two new original Disney characters. In the original story of Frozen, aka The Ice Queen by Hans Christian Andersen, we actually feature two other characters named Kai and Gerda. So, the Ice Queen, if you can't tell, is Elsa. And she's actually the bad guy, unlike Frozen where they think she's the bad guy. No, the Ice Queen, she's actually the bad guy. So in this story, there is a magic mirror that was created by the devil that shows you the worst parts of yourself, and when this magic mirror is smashed, shards go out and inflict people, and it honestly kind of turns them into like the worst parts in the self. So our main character in this story, Kai, actually seems, I do have notes over here by the way, I'm not just like yapping. Kai actually gets a splinter, and this causes him to kind of change his personality. I do actually see a lot of similarities with Anna and Gerda, as Anna goes out on a grand adventure to find her sister and try to rescue her. The next is our dear old, lovely, kind, and sweet Cinderella. As we know, Cinderella is actually one of those stories that has so many different adaptations because Cinderella is just such a well-known and honestly beloved series. So in the Disney version, we know that Cinderella, her father remarried after her mother died, and this is why the evil stepmother and her two ugly stepsisters come into her life. So when the father dies, the stepmother makes Cinderella into the housemaid, and they just treat her very poorly. One day there's a ball, and Cinderella gets excited, she wants to go to this ball, and then her dreams are crushed when her stepmother and her sisters are like, we're not gonna let you do that. I'm kind of like mermaid style in my bed because my back hurts sitting like this, so I hope you enjoy this side profile. But anyway, a fairy godmother shows out of the blue to come and rescue poor Cinderella, gives her a beautiful dress, a pumpkin carriage, and sends her to the ball, asking her to be back by midnight. She's the time of her life at this ball, but accidentally leaves behind a glass slipper. The prince, enthralled with the beautiful Cinderella, looks around the kingdom to find the one who wore this shoe, eventually finding her and fitting the shoe onto her foot and then marrying her. Yeah, kind of. It's kind of how the original goes, but a little bit gorier. So this version is actually in the Brothers Grimm version of Cinderella, where honestly the story is kind of the same until you kind of get to the end, because in Cinderella, the Disney version, the ugly stepsisters try to fit their feet in the slipper, but they won't go in. They kind of like pile up in there and curve around it, but they don't fit. Their feet are too big. But in the Brothers Grimm version, instead of just trying to force their way into this very petite shoe, they decide to start chopping their feet away. Yeah. So yeah, they chop up their feet, but still it's very obvious that it's not their shoe. So then comes Cinderella, the shoe fits perfectly as we all know, and the prince and the new princess live happily ever after. But unlike the Disney version, for post-wedding entertainment, birds swoop down and pluck out the eyes of the ugly stepsisters. Gotta love that for a wedding tradition. Next, we need to talk about actually one of my all-time favorite Disney movies, which is The Hunchback of Notre Dame. I love this story. Quasimodo was honestly one of my favorite characters growing up. I loved The Hunchback of Notre Dame. So as we know, Quasimodo is born with a lot of deformities, and this leads him to being taken in by the church and raised by Frollo, who is actually a really bad guy. Really bad guy. And so they find Esmeralda, who is not a witch or anything like that. She's not a temptress. She's not an evil person. She's not evil whatsoever. And yet, Frollo still wants to hang her in the Disney movie because she will not submit to him. She will not love him back. She thinks he's vile and disgusting, which he is, but he can't stand that. So instead, he would rather have her dead. So in this story, obviously, Quasimodo falls in love with her and he tries his best to help her. But also in this story, there's a man, a beautiful blonde-haired man that I can't remember his name because he wasn't too beautiful to me. But anyway, he's the one who actually ends up with Esmeralda. They finally get away, happy, they're safe, two beautiful people together, and Quasimodo is just kind of left there. And then the sequel happens where he eventually does find his happiness. He does, get with a woman who has a child. And honestly, it's a very beautiful story, even if I don't really like the second one because the animation's a little bit bugged. I do really like the story. I think it's a very happy and nice story for Quasimodo. But that's not the original story. In the original story by Victor Hugo, Frollo has Esmeralda hung. Quasimodo, who was in love with her, gets angry and kills Frollo. And at her grave, at Esmeralda's grave, Quasimodo basically just sits there and starves himself until he dies, because he cannot part with her. He loved her so much that he would much rather die of grief at her grave than ever leave her. And how can I not talk about my favorite princess, Princess Aurora? Her story actually frightens me. This one actually is one of those stories that I heard for the first time and my jaw was agape. So obviously, as we know in the Disney version, Sleeping Beauty, or Aurora, or Briar Rose, is the princess born to the king and the queen, but because of the evil Maleficent, she is sent away not knowing that she's a princess or a royal. She grows up as a peasant girl, Briar Rose, and eventually meets Prince Philip. They kind of fall in love, but then again, she's kind of enchanted and they go to the castle where she pricks her finger on a spinning wheel and falls into a deep sleep. The entire kingdom being put to sleep by the fairies so they will not know of this. No harm will come to the people. But by the power of true love's kiss, Briar Rose, aka now known as Aurora, the princess, is awakened by the prince via true love's kiss, and then they live happily ever after. You know how it is. Yeah. The original is not that whatsoever. I'm gonna put a big content warning on this one because this one gives me like the heebie-jeebies. So in this story, the king actually is taking a walk by this house when his bird flies into a nearby cottage, and going into the cottage to retrieve the bird, he finds the unconscious Aurora and decides to assault her. He basically essays her while she is unconscious, and she later wakes up pregnant with twins. And weirdly enough, at the end, she does decide to continue this family and relationship with the king. It's very gross, and I hate it a lot. And let me remind you, this is not just a girl just like sleeping. She has been cursed in this version by an evil fairy, and she didn't deserve that. This makes me upset. Like, this story actually makes me upset. But lastly, let's end off on a kind of close to the original, kind of happy ending story, which is Rapunzel. As we know, Rapunzel is the story of a girl with very long magical hair. She's taken away in the Disney movie by the woman named Mother Gothel, who wants to use her hair to keep her young with her magical healing powers. She takes her into a very far away tower, locks her up for 18 years, when eventually a man named Fundraiser, or Eugene Fitzherbert, finds her, discovers she's a princess, takes her back to the kingdom so she can see the floating lanterns that she's been so eager to see, falls in love with her, but then kind of betrays her in a way, tries to back out of that, but it doesn't really work. And then Mother Gothel kidnaps Rapunzel, takes her back to the tower, kind of like gags her and imprisons her, so Flynn comes looking for her, and there, when he gets to the top of the tower, he finds her imprisoned and is stabbed by Mother Gothel. Mother Gothel is pushed out of the tower, and she just kind of dies and vanishes to dust once Flynn uses a shard of glass to chop off Rapunzel's hair, so she no longer has any healing magic via her hair. So while Flynn is on the floor dying of a stab wound, Rapunzel, now with short hair, cries onto him to try to save him, and luckily, her tears have healing powers. go figure. And so they do get to live happily ever after. Now she gets to go back to her home, her kingdom, and they get married, and it's all very nice and happy. But the original has some darker themes. In the original, it was actually just a witch who stole Rapunzel, locked her in the tower. So the witch finds out that a man has been climbing the tower and goes to see Rapunzel in the night, if you know what I mean, and finds out that Rapunzel is now pregnant and she's having twins. I don't know what it is with twins in the Brothers Grimm stories, but okay. So anyway, she's having twins, and Mother Gothel, aka the witch, I guess, I want to call her Mother Gothel so bad, but the witch kind of kicks her out, and so now she's pregnant and roaming around the forest. The witch then lures the man to the tower using the cut off hair that she took from Rapunzel, lures him up to the tower and stabs his eyes out, so now he's blind. We have a dog now. But anyway, the prince, I'm gonna call him a prince, he's probably a prince. The prince then falls from the tower, now blinded. He roams around the forest when he hears a very beautiful singing voice. Obviously he can't see now, but he knows that voice is Rapunzel's. They meet, and she cries, and her tears heal his eyes. He sees that he has twins, that he has children, and they just kind of live out their days kind of happily now. At least that was a happier ending. Just saying. But these are just some of the few of the very kind of dark tales of actual Disney movies. I do think it's pretty interesting. Some of these kind of make me feel icky-er more than others, obviously, as we can tell with Sleeping Beauty. But it is kind of interesting to see how they take these stories and do try to make them more, you know, family, kid-friendly. Even if it's not, you know, necessarily family, kid-friendly, I do see a lot of the similarities and the themes from the stories. You are so cute. Oh my god. You are so cute. I'm getting so distracted because look at how cute he is right now. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you would like to see a part 2, there are so many Disney stories that we can cover, and I definitely could have went over more and told you more information about these stories. So if you would like to see another video like this, please let me know down below. This was just something that I thought would be a fun video to do for Halloween, but if you want more like this, I can always do that. So please remember to like, share, subscribe, and get ready for some Halloween fun time. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye. Psst. Hey you. You? Maybe you. I did just make a vlog channel, by the way. I figure I should throw that in here. We have a vlog channel now, so if you guys want to see like kind of just about every other day vlogs, check it out. It's over here. We're gonna have some fun. I'm gonna do some like talking and yapping behind the scenes, so check it out.